Welcome to today's episode of Talk and Roll. Today we have out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the Synthpop band. As I just fall over myself, sorry, take us again. Give me a drink.
Welcome to my world, man.
There we go.
The other day I had a friend and I did his whole opening and I nailed it perfect the first time. I'm like, that never happens.
It's all good. It's all good.
Here we go. Take two. Hello, welcome to today's episode of Talk and Roll. Today we have the Synthpop band out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Brighter Than 1,000 Suns. Please introduce yourselves.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Brandy.
I'm Angelica.
You know, I found you guys. I get bored sometimes because I should be working when I'm at the shop, but I'm playing on Instagram like I shouldn't be. And I was listening and your music popped up. And this is what people I reach out to. If your music catches me and makes me backtrack and go to it and listen to it, that's when I know I've found something cool. Because if not, because you're like, nope, nope. Oh, then you got to go back. And,
Great.
It's synthpop is back on the rise. You know, I grew up in the 80s and I forgot. I mean, I know this is bad. I forgot how much I loved that stuff.
Yeah.
I got really into synthwave. I got back into synth pop and some like goth synth stuff like that. And it's nice because recently a lot of the larger bands that I found have toured, which was up until recently, you just found them on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or on YouTube. And then you were like hoping that they would come through in an area and you didn't. And now we're seeing synthwave bands hitting local. I'm getting shows. Matter of fact, a week from yesterday, I'm going to go see Health in Detroit. So I'm going to go.
Nice. Yeah, they were just in Charlotte, North Carolina. Was it last night or the night before?
Yeah, last night or something.
We didn't go because it was like a lot of money, but it was enough to be like, because Charlotte is like an hour and a half away from us, and
yeah. But anyway,
that's
they're great.
I'm driving 3 hours to Detroit to go see them because that's the closest they're coming. So I did get to see them last year in Columbus, and then they were like, "Oh, we're coming back through, but we're not hitting that. We're not hitting the same areas." So I'm like, and they're like, "Back in Detroit," and I'm like, because I did an interview with Johnny from Health, and he goes, "Oh, we're coming back through," and I'm like, "Sweet." And then he goes, "Where you at?" I'm like, "Detroit." I'm like, I guess I'm driving. So
into Detroit.
I go. The worst part about it is I go to Detroit all the time now for some weird reason. I'm a fan of wrestling and music, so there's a lot of really good wrestling and there's a lot of really good music in Detroit, and so I got to see Nightclub there last year. Now I'm going to see them in Columbus. So yeah, we're going to have fun. So
very cool.
So how because we talked in message the other day that you were concerned because we are more of a metal oriented show, which I get, but we have talked to, like I said, I've talked to Johnny from Health, I've talked to Ross from Dead on a Sunday, and we've had a couple other poppy bands and stuff like that. But you guys said that you no longer are in that music, you've moved forward into synth pop. How did that transition happen?
Slowly. Well, I don't know what song you heard, but that caught your ear initially, but it's probably called The Void or Fever Dreams or something like that. And that's, such a far cry from what we used to do. We've been a band since 2008. Seven.
Yeah.
We changed our name to Brighter Than 1,000 Suns in 2010. And shortly after that, we got a deal with Tragic Hero Records. We were touring. We were in Detroit. Actually, you saying that brings up a bunch of memories. But yeah. But it just got we just didn't find it expressive anymore. Not that it isn't. It's just for us,
Yeah.
I can go on and on about why we changed, but it was slow, very intentional. We had some songs that sort of had the, can we swear?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You know, people like to call it genre fuck, you know, where there's sort of like, you know, something like Aesthetic Perfection. I don't know if you know them, but
Yeah.
it was kind of leaning a little more like that, or some of the more metal side of what Poppy does, you know, kind of nastier stuff. We use that as sort of a transition point. The more heavier side of like Nine Inch Nails, for example, industrial. And we kind of have slowly moved into what we kind of, I don't know if we have a proper name for it. Synth pop is a very general term, but something more like Scritti Politti, very, very twinkly pop oriented, 80s top 40, but also some of the more rock end of that, like Mr. and Kenny Loggins, that kind of thing. So
But then we have some of the more darker oriented tracks that you'd hear from perhaps, you know, groups like Propaganda
right,
or
that,
Hardcore,
yeah,
where it leans a little bit more
some more
beat.
edgy kind of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. So it runs the gamut. It's you know, it's still a bit of a genre fuck, just not
Well,
in the sense
not
of
now,
pop and metal.
but that was just the kind of transition.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's how you got from point A to point B. You had to go through the Well,
Yeah, it's never a straight line.
it's so fun because with you know the rise of stuff like you know Stranger Things and whatnot like that, seeing the synth like be brought back, and now you know John Carpenter's touring with his you know
Isn't that wild?
It's so cool.
That's so cool. And you know it's I felt like I've backtracked, and my one buddy tells me my musical tastes are schizophrenic because I'm literally while I'm editing, because I do 4 shows a week, and I'll edit my 2 interview shows and then my other 2 shows, and the whole entire time I'm listening to vinyl. So I have my record player back there, I'm listening to it, so every once in a while I post what I'm listening to, and one day it was like Iron Maiden, um, Time Cop 1983,
Yeah.
and like
Nice.
the Pulp Fiction soundtrack, and they're like,
Diverse.
how do you, I'm like, because man, I my wife of all people, because she gave me crap so much about this, is at a point I was like, it's all about metal. You know, I got real angry and stuff. And she's like, you need to calm down. and she goes, and I'm sitting there, so I started listening to stuff I'd listened to when I was younger. I dug out my old cassette tapes, and I rediscovered like the fact that I just love all kinds of music. And now there's all this new synth wave and stuff coming out, and you're just like, wow, you know, that they're taking something that I loved in the 80s, and it's becoming so much cooler and so much bigger. And you know, I mean this in the best possible way. The one song I just listened to, and I'm drawing a blank on the name because my phone just shut off. Uh, it sounded like something that should be on the Stranger Things soundtrack right there.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny about you know, you said Tom Cop, 1983, Iron Maiden. That there's a lot of crossover with metalheads and synthwave specifically.
Yeah.
You know,
The dovetailing is
yeah,
pretty.
we know a lot of people that used to be metal like us and then moved into synthwave. I don't consider what we do synthwave, and we're kind of trying to distance ourselves from that term, even though there's a lot of crossover from people that like it, and we're totally cool with that. But we're trying to lean more proper, authentic 80s straight up. The production's a little more modern, but that's sort of our differentiation point. But yeah, there's tons of metal and synthwave. It's like they go together. Well, have you heard Carpenter? Is it Carpenter Brute or
Carpenter Brute?
Carpenter Brute. You know, that guy is the best combination you could think of.
Yeah.
You know, for metal. And
he did that like remix of that whole song, and it was
awesome.
amazing. Machine Guns and Peacock Feathers.
That's right. Yeah, so good.
Look at the Carpenter Brute sort of redux of that song by Ulver. It is
so good.
Stunning. It is so good.
But yeah,
I'm sitting over here looking at my vinyl. I've only got Leather Teeth and I'm drawing a blank here. I'm essentially becoming a DJ to all my friends. They're
it's cool.
They're like, what are we listening to now?
Service.
Yeah. And that's over there. But yeah, I've got to I gotta ask. You guys said you toured and you were hit Detroit. What club did you do Detroit?
Oh, do you even remember?
No, you know what? We didn't play the club in Detroit proper.
We stayed with Mike.
We stayed
our
with
agent was
our
in
agent.
Detroit. That's right.
Yeah, it was scariest house I think I've ever spent the night
Yeah,
in.
but I don't remember that area. But right, we were. It was right. No, well, no, wasn't it in? It was like sort of remember that bowling alley?
Yeah, that was
actually
that
in
wasn't
Detroit.
actually in Detroit. It was outside of it.
This was like in 2011 or something like that.
Yeah, that was
It's a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
or November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, something like in winter of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I go up there because I technically we have family and stuff that live about 40 minutes outside of Detroit, so we can go up, hang out at the clubs, and then scoot over and visit family. So
Yeah.
well, no, I had to ask because we I have a joke. I was talking with Johnny from Health, and I saw them at the L Club in Detroit, and I was like, man, I was like, there were so many people packed in there. I was like, I'm surprised it didn't get shut down. He goes, I heard it was mob owned, and that's why they wouldn't shut it down.
There we are.
And
Yeah.
I guess that seems
Just
right.
assume that if anything is doing well in Detroit, it's probably mob owned.
Yeah.
Like, I know they're trying to like zhuzh it up a little bit. There are some downtown areas that they're trying to spice up, and I'm like, it reminds me of like when New York started gentrifying the South Bronx and called it the Piano District. I'm like, okay, like bump the brakes, but okay.
Well, it's, my son was making fun. He's rewatching the Daredevil show, and they're talking about Hell's Kitchen. I'm like, but Hell's Kitchen's been gentrified to death now, so it's not
Yeah.
even.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Big problem.
so I do have to ask, when you went from being metal and whatnot, you said you changed your name. What was your band's name before?
Self-made soul.
Self-Made Soul. Okay.
We had an EP called The Demon Haunted World. We did that with a guy called Paul Levitt. He did a lot of stuff from that era, and we kept the same. We re-released that EP under the same with the same title, but yeah, we were already shifting towards metal. We used to be like an Anne Boleyn, Emery, May, like Tooth and Nail Records sounding kind of rock. That was popular in the early MySpace era.
Okay.
And then we just shifted slowly into heavier and heavier stuff.
We discovered Under Oath and
Yeah, well, yeah,
Like,
kind of.
you are
That was
there.
basically it.
Yeah. I mean, Spencer Chamberlain was
Yeah.
probably my biggest vocal influence at
We
the
were
time.
one of the first sort of female screamer, emo kind of screamo bands.
Yeah.
So
I reached out compared to I Wrestled a Bear once, and I'm like, okay, yeah,
Not really, but yeah.
we're not quite as
We're more melodic
esoteric.
than that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I got to see, what is it? I wrestled a bear once, and then I'm like, I looked at my wife one day and go, they became Spirit Box, right? She's
Right. Yeah.
she's like, oh,
They got the
that's
new
why
singer,
that girl looked
too.
familiar. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the original I Wrestled a Bear once, I forget the girl's name, Krista or something.
yeah.
There was a different singer who, funny enough, there was like a shot of her going around with the band, and she and I wore like very similar glasses.
And size.
And like, yeah, she looked like her, and I was just like, oh my God, like we look
We used to
alike
get that
too.
comment a lot.
Yeah, which was kind of funny. So I'm kind of like, oh shit.
So did you ever take any of your music from that period and make it new, or do you just keep that completely separate?
Basically completely separate. But
Okay.
well, okay. We did a song for a compilation that this record label Fixed Records. I don't know if you know Cell
Yeah,
Dweller.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
they did Fury Weekend, some other stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Yeah.
got a few of those
Well,
things.
we were gonna do a deal with them, but it was best it didn't work out the way it did. But anyway, we ended up doing one song called Future Blind, formerly called Aphantasia. Anyway, that used to be a little more metal, and we made it a little bit more electronic for their, that compilation. But that's really it. I've toyed around with that idea, but it just sort of feels like it's best to just kind of move on and start fresh,
Yeah.
So we always ask, so when did you start getting into music personally? At what
Oh
age?
my God.
Well,
You go first.
Yeah, I was 10, and that was a very long time ago.
Let's just say we both started in 19.
About
90.
90.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So-
Yeah, so yeah, when you said you're a product of the 80s, like same.
So are we.
Yeah. Early.
I'm rapidly approaching 50. It's
Nice. You
Wow,
look great
you
for
I
late 40s. You look great for late 40s.
would have figured you were about our age.
I mean, June, I'll be 50. So
Oh,
Get out of
good
here.
for you,
No.
man.
Wow.
Great.
good genes,
Great.
good genes.
Yeah, right.
It's awesome.
Yeah, he's got the good Swedish genes. I got the good German genes. You know,
Okay.
that's why we're both in our 40s. We're looking all right. You know, things are going well for us. So
See, my kids love it. My kids are like, yeah, look at my parents. They don't look old. So I
like,
like people freak out because my sons are all like, my youngest is 13 and I got in 20s and I got a 30-year-old. And they just
Oh, wow.
look at it and they're like, man, your kids, you don't look like you're old enough to have kids. I'm like, thank you. But if you take the hat off, most of the hair is gone. But
Gotcha.
just keep the hat on and you can
That's the
cover
trick.
it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's but no, you guys, like I said, I like your music. Your guys have a good pop feel. But then I'm sitting there listening to this is gonna be bad because I gotta put the glasses on. I'm sitting there
All
playing
good.
with my phone a little bit ago, and when you are playing on, it goes was it Vox coders are fun, and I'm like, damn, that's a great beat. I hope you.
Yeah, yeah. That's in our song, "The Call of the Void." We just released that.
Yeah,
So yeah, yeah.
it's so good, and it's so nice seeing different genres of music, and then now we kind of like you're mashing it up, you're moving stuff over, you're tweaking your sounds, and you're making it your own. And you're like you said, you have that 80s vibe, and your looks are much of that 80s vibe. I mean, you got like I mean, I was gonna say flock of seagulls hair, but it's not, not the whole.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Thanks. Yeah,
This takes like a solid 20 minutes to
yeah.
like he's sitting on the toilet. I'm just like
Oh, yeah,
ratting
yeah.
the shit out of his hair. His hair's upside down. I'm spraying it with hairspray. There's gonna be an ozone layer hole above our house.
Right.
Like
How many
any day
cans of
now.
Aquanet do you got?
Oh man, if only it were Aquanet. I don't
Yeah.
even. I think you have to
Aquanet
buy
was
that at dollar stores.
Big sexy hair.
big
Yeah.
That's
sex.
what it's called. Big sexy hair.
Well,
Big
yeah,
sexy-
because you gotta get the stuff that has like a concrete hold.
You do.
And we don't use anything
Yeah.
tested on animals, so we're like,
No, but
oh, yeah.
thanks for saying all that. I have to acknowledge the fact that I think synth wave or any kind of foray into retro pop and the stuff we're doing and almost anything that's niche like that or has become niche now is all a result of the fact that nothing has to go away anymore. You see,
No.
we're not in a monoculture.
Yeah.
So if it weren't for the fact that we are so disjointed in that way, there's obviously negatives to that. I don't think it would have been possible. The climate, the cultural climate, would not have been possible to create the space for stuff like what we're doing. So it's
Yeah.
only because everything is so broken off now,
Which
and,
is
divided. But
it can be a little difficult to navigate, and
yeah, because it's harder to find everybody. You can't just broadcast and say, "Oh, find the right people."
right,
But
right.
yeah, so that's a big reason why. And
But I think the sort of the departure from that monoculture, which existed in like the early 2000s and the 90s and stuff, like if you sounded 80s in the 90s,
Oh,
you were
yeah.
an idiot. Like, oh,
Yeah.
why do you have a synthesizer? Like you couldn't sell a synthesizer. It was
we got made fun of. One of my bands in the '90s had a keyboard player, and they were like, "Oh, keyboards."
Yeah. So it's like, but what's really cool now is that the diversity that we see among all different forms of art, it's I think it's largely driven by primarily Gen Z's narrative of let people like stuff.
Late millennial.
Late millennial Gen Z. I really do think that they are sort of leading the brigade when it comes to saying, hey, people are allowed to like things and you are allowed to be passionately into
Yeah.
different genres of music. So if you're a metalhead, you don't have to be ashamed of
Right.
busting out Howard Jones, right?
That's probably the real reason why you have, Time Cop and Iron Maiden. It's
right. And it's because you are now allowed to like things. It's not it's not like, oh, you're stupid. I remember Mayhem, the band Mayhem,
Yeah.
the guitarist Euronymous, apparently one of his favorite artists was Tangerine Dream.
Yeah.
Obviously very unexpected, but can you imagine the level of scrutiny that he would have faced where he were to be like, hey guys, let's listen to Tangerine Dream, or however he spoke. It's probably like Tangerine Dream, but like
Dream, yes, no.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah.
they'd be like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
But like it's just so different now. And that is such a blessing because it just allows people to be more artistically exploratory.
Exactly.
Instead of feeling like you have to stay on a path that maybe doesn't serve you anymore, which is how we were starting to feel about metal. So it feels like jumping the shark when you're our age, but I think, you know,
Who cares? No one cares.
nobody cares now.
No, you're out there playing your music, doing what you want to do, and enjoying your thing, and being able to do that, and being able to transfer over from metal to doing your retro pop, 80s pop. And I was just talking to my son about this a couple of days ago because we were in the car, and I had on the Amazon radio, and I'm listening to it, and we're listening to Duran Duran. And I'm like,
Nice.
people go, oh, it's like, dude, I don't care. I love heavy metal. I'm a metal guy, but so much 80s pop is still so good. I had we grew up I grew up in a small town, and we had one really good radio station that we got locally, and it was top 40. So, it played at the mall. You went to the pool in the summertime, it was playing. You go to the skating rink, and that's what they played. So you enjoyed that, even if it wasn't, maybe not your favorite, but there's always so many of those bands that you like, I go back and re-listen to the Lost Boys soundtrack, or
Nice.
I've got Duran Duran on vinyl.
Right. Right.
And you can go back to that. It's not like you go past a certain point and you're like, nope, you're grown up now. You can't listen to that no more. And I'm like, I legit make my whole entire life on that. I was like, I'm the guy who tells you to go back and enjoy your childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your son think of Duran Duran?
Yeah, that's something. Well, he loves Duran Duran.
Oh,
But
good. Okay.
It's so funny. My middle son, he loves music, period. Matter of fact, I told him once, I was like, I'm not a fan of the city of Cleveland. I don't really want to go there. It's I don't know. I've just never had a good time in Cleveland. Even when I had a good time, something made it bad at the end. And I told him, I was like, I will take you to Cleveland for one thing. And I was like, if Nine Inch Nails ever plays, I will take you, because that's our thing. I will take whatever money I have to do to buy tickets. I will make sure my kid goes. And me and him have been to concerts. He's been with me to go see Health and Perturbator in Detroit.
Nice.
He's gone with me to see Dead on a Sunday. But he's also went with his mom to go see Joan Jett in Columbus. It's like,
Cool.
he likes the Pixies, but he also likes Clutch. He likes Health, but he also likes, Iron Maiden. So he's like me and his mom. So we all take it, and it was funny because we were laughing a couple days ago. I'm sitting there, we were talking about great guitar players, and I was joking around. Well, I wasn't really joking around. I was like, I think Prince is a better guitar player than Jimi Hendrix was.
I would actually agree with that.
And people are like,
hardcore.
And I'm like, but here's the thing. Jimi Hendrix walked so Prince could run.
Yeah.
Right.
So
right.
You can still approach it from what
Yeah.
you prefer to hear. And I agree. I think Jimi Hendrix maybe had some better songwriting. I'm not big on Prince, but the fact remains Prince was a phenomenal guitarist.
Yeah.
And he skated under the radar with that for so long. And I never understood why people didn't really get that the guy really could play.
Oh yeah. Well,
Purple Rain being one of the most boring songs I've ever heard, notwithstanding.
On top of Dove's Cry.
Yeah,
that's
man.
Yeah.
Like,
but
you
then
can do it.
Yeah, but it's one of them things. We're a lot of those underappreciated guitar players that were in bands that you look at and you're like, they're not known for their guitar playing. Like I like Fleetwood Mac. Not gonna lie.
I was gonna say Lindsey Buckingham.
Yeah.
Lindsey Buckingham. Guy plays his guitar like a banjo, 3-finger picking and stuff like that. I was like, no one plays like that. He's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But, in fact, I think one of the first things, like when was it our first date? You asked me what's an underrated guitarist.
Yeah.
Did I say I don't think I said Alex Lifeson. I think I said Lindsey Buckingham.
I think you might have, and I think I was I had the same response.
Queued up.
I was just like, oh my god,
Well, there's so many good people out there that, you know, they're just not known because of their band. They're not known
Yeah.
for their guitar playing. They're not, you know, Prince wasn't known for his guitar playing. He's known for being Prince and singing, you know, Lindsey Buckingham, not known for his guitar playing, but known for, you know, Fleetwood Mac. And but there's so much potential that these guys could have done, but they're just like, yep, I'm settling here. This is where we're playing. So,
Yeah.
but
Well, I think a lot of it was a little bit more that they were trying to serve the song rather than their ego. When you get these guys like John Petrucci and he's just really, 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 it's like, well, okay, great, but it's not about how many notes you play, it's about how you play them. And sometimes the negative space in between is what you need to serve the song. But Petrucci's one of those guitarists who just can't shut the fuck up for 5 seconds. And we know this, and it's part of why we love the guy, but like, you know, when you hear something like Prince, where he understood nuance, he understood subtlety, and that's what he chose to apply. Same thing with Lindsey Buckingham.
Yeah.
That is a requirement, I think, as a great musician. Beyond just a great player, you need to understand how to properly serve the song. Don't overplay it because you want to hear yourself talk.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
yeah, it's one of the ones. It's that if you can overdo everything. You can overproduce, you can oversing, you can overplay. You know, I've went and seen bands where you could see the guitar player was just trying to get in his solos and trying to get in his thing, and you're just like, that doesn't fit the song, man. You're just like playing, and the other three guys are playing a song, and you're playing your own little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's probably one of the reasons why I think rock bands in general are somewhat on the decline, it
Yeah.
seems, you know, because forming them is kind of a pain in the ass because you have this one guy or a couple guys who are like, well, I want my stamp on the song. Well, why do you need your stamp? Because the song is what it is, you know,
yeah,
like it's its own entity, and you have to realize what magic do you have to kind of capitalize on to have it have the most impact on the listener. Not, this isn't about you getting the cool bass line or the sweet ride pattern, you know, but some people still think like that. And, you know, I don't know, maybe that's why so many people are like, I've had it. It's hard to work with other people.
It is.
I
I mean,
think that's why I've seen the rise
It's
of so
over to
many
two
one
now.
person
Yeah.
bands.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
trying to wrangle other people's personality can be extremely difficult. We used to be a 4-piece,
Yeah.
then we were a 3-piece, and now we're 2.
Yeah, exactly.
And it might as well be. And then there were 1 because we're married. And you know, I understand the functions that I serve within the band capacity, and but you know, he is the chief songwriter, and that's just how it goes. And when you have a bunch of people all come together, like, I want my stamp, I want my songwriting credit, I want blah blah blah. If you look at some of the greatest pieces of music in history, the songwriting credit oftentimes does not say written and performed by
The whole band.
the whole band. It's written by John Sykes, performed by Whitesnake, you know, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Written by the 5 guys you see on stage. No.
no, it's not how it happens. So
Well, you talk about that White Snake. I know it's bad, but I can't remember which album they did, but the band that did the entire album is not the band that
See.
like the tour was with David Coverdale and then a whole new band touring for an album that was written by a bunch of other
Happens all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
all the time. And you know, I do think that when you have one person's solid vision at the forefront and others are happy to sort of augment it, that is where the real music happens. You know, I don't try to chime in with much in the way of songwriting because I don't really consider myself to be much of a songwriter. There are melodic flourishes that I have, you know, contributed and said, hey, can we try this? And, you know, we'll be like, oh, that's actually kind of good, like shock and horror, you know, but like.
She's being modest.
I was just going to ask that.
But, you know, it's, it is, I do think that there is a certain magic in there being one person who just has this symphony in their mind at all times, and they're able to bring that out into the world.
This is also why I find it difficult to capitalize on the current trend of collaborations.
Yeah.
That is being pushed hardcore by a lot of the music industry promotion gurus out there, and I see a lot of people obviously doing it. It's cool. I don't hate on it, but there's so much stuff that I have in my own head that I want to get out in the way I want to get it out. I don't have the space to carve out for someone else to come in and let's write a thing. I got 10 songs in the pipeline that I got to write myself. I don't know if I have time for you, but you know, remix is cool, but everything else, I just can't get on board with that for some reason.
Not to mention, you know, there's a lot of time spent. This is entirely a self-contained entity.
Well, right,
you know,
yeah.
we don't have a team. There's no like management.
Not anymore anyway.
Yeah,
but,
or like social media.
Yeah, it's just us. So
Moderators or anything. It's just us. So the burden falls on us to do all of it. And when you are somebody, especially like Randy, who, you know, I consider him to be a very brilliant songwriter, you have the work that in itself is a burden in a way, and then you have to handle all the logistics. It's like,
yeah.
Who has the time, you know? And we're come on, we traditionally are a live band, and we want to continue with that. That's a lot of work too. So yeah.
So I know that I've talked to other bands that are, you know, in the kind of retro genre, and some of them are having problems finding like touring because people don't know how to book them. Are you running into any of that?
No, not really, because see, we were a, you know, I don't know what you want to. I don't want to give us too much credit here, but I mean, we used to tour and play out, especially as metal more often. We spent the last couple of years kind of not playing to dial in, you know, the sound we wanted to craft. But neither here nor there. I don't think that's a problem for us. See, the post-punk side of things that has the darker synth kind of thing and gothy or bands and stuff like that. There's a lot of touring going on with that, and there's tons of dovetail with other synth and you know, industrial and synth pop can make their way into that. I noticed a lot of the strictly synth wave guys don't really seem to play out much. They're content being a studio thing, but I don't see it. When we have a lot of friends with still a lot of connections and stuff. I don't see that being a problem, to be honest with you. But
plus, it's got to be strategic and.
Well, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the new thing. Instead of just going, we used to just, you know, you play wherever, hope there are the 10 people there that would at least buy one CD, and then you've made one fan or something like that. But it's changed now to where you want to kind of go where the people are. You make your fans online, then go to them, as opposed to only doing the stage show. Because I mean, you're just going to run out of money. And well, at our age, you know, I mean, come on, you know.
Oh, yeah.
The back's not the same as it used to be. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
But you know, yeah, it's a different world.
Yeah, it is. But I think it's a matter of touring smarter, not harder now.
Right.
And I think where a lot of bands might be running into issues is we do have now a little bit more of a deficit when it comes to good venues to play. And when you're touring, you are reliant on two things: being able to actually draw people in the door, and there being a little bit of a built-in crowd, either for the other acts on the bill or the venue itself. But places like the Space in Hamden, Connecticut, for instance, used to have a built-in crowd that seemed to show up to almost every show. That doesn't happen now.
Yeah.
People are a lot more frugal than they ever have been. They are a lot more conscious of how they spend their money, and shows are more expensive. So I think the real ticket is making sure that everything is as strategic and targeted as it possibly can be. And also paying attention to which regions of the country actually have good venues, because you don't want to play in some double wide in Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, which we did. Okay. This place, you know, it shared its space with a really sketchy tattoo shop.
Like an all-night tattoo shop.
All-night tattoo shop. Let that
that's the cool thing about that. You have great stories.
You do. But when you know, when the economy is such that people are struggling financially, which most people, I would say 50 and under, are experiencing that. When $75,000 a year is no longer even considered middle class. You know, you have sort of this disparity between how much shows cost and how much people are willing to spend on them.
Well, having said that, though, I think live is almost better than it was pre-pandemic.
Oh, it absolutely is, because people finally were like, oh my gosh, there's like a world out there.
It's a weird balance, but
yeah, you're right. When the pandemic hit, everything shut down. We had concert tickets, and we got our refunds, and a couple of them we were able to see later. But I want to say that when the pandemic ended, people really, really wanted to play.
Yeah.
People wanted to be out on tour. People wanted to go to shows. So those first couple of years after, those shows were phenomenal because they were killing it, because they're like, we don't know if this is going to happen again. So we're up there playing. And, and luckily it hasn't happened again, but it seemed like that's what, and then with doing our show with interviewing people, we found out that so many bands spawned out of the pandemic because you had these people who were creative and, oh, well, you know what? We were in a band before, and then they come together and they start really I'm finding these kids that were, coming together during the pandemic, and then suddenly they're opening for big bands because they had all that downtime to play and get good at it and everything else like that. And then suddenly they're,
Honed their
man,
craft.
it's like, you open for, 2 years in, and you open, and you're just like,
It's
and it
wild,
wasn't
right?
pay to play. It wasn't pay to play.
Good for them.
And you're
Great,
just,
great.
And even oh, go ahead. Sorry.
and like you said, we're not spring chickens and stuff like that. I bet Torin, because I see your setup. I hope you take a smaller setup with you. When
Oh
you
yes, yes.
Not, I gotta tell you, not by much.
No,
Not
no,
by
he only
much.
brings 3 synthesizers, and
Three.
I bring 4 Roland pads and then a Roland octave.
Well, we got a big rack here. You can't.
Yeah,
see. It's really. It's not. It's probably.
But we can fit it in our Nissan Rogue.
That's sort of part of the story.
Yeah.
Is we use a lot of vintage gear, so
Almost exclusively, actually.
you can't. Yeah, when you do it that way, because I never like the look of just a laptop and a MIDI controller. That's awesome if you do that. No hate at all, but I just.
It's got to be a spectacle.
That doesn't have a pull to me. So
Yeah.
we like the spectacle of all the old stuff. So it's probably too much.
Yeah. The majority of our gear, though, I think you have like our
Well, we don't
PA
say
gear
it,
is
but,
newer, but
yeah,
it's almost all 80s and back.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of cool seeing the throwback gear and seeing people actually playing throwback gear. I have to say, a year and a half ago, I took my kids to go see Health and Author and Punisher, and you talk about the whole. This guy had the whole gear. He had this weird sliding trigger thing that played drums, and he'd like go backwards, it'd play guitar, he'd go forward and it'd play drums. And when he would hit
Wow.
the triggers, it would be the different, so like bass drum, whatever, but it's like do do do, and I'm like, that might be one of the neatest things I've ever seen.
Holy cow, cool. Sounds like the guy from Nothing More. You ever seen them?
Never seen them.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He had this big break. He used to stand on it. It was like spring loaded, and he would be back and forth and all kinds of levers and stuff, and it would just trigger things. It's crazy. Yeah.
They're amazing live, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah.
They are amazing
I
live.
think the guy from Starset had the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
See,
or similar.
I've seen Starset a couple times, and he had this big thing, and he was like hitting.
Right.
It was like
that's another one.
a touch screen, and he's like
Yes.
playing
Yes.
it, and I'm like, that's
Yes.
neat.
Yeah.
Those guys are all like science brainy
Yeah,
guys.
hell
It's
yeah.
just awesome. Like,
Yeah.
so here for it.
It's cool seeing lack of a better term, geeks making music, because they're
Oh yeah.
nerdy music. My one buddy who's a huge nerd, he was buying up all this stuff because he wants to farm a synthwave. He wants to do synthwave by himself, but he was buying all that stuff when no one was buying it, so he has a ton of it in his house now.
Nice.
And I was like, can you play any of it? He goes, about this much. I'm like, you have thousands of dollars of equipment in your house, and you play like one thing. So,
oh man.
Yeah, we the geeky side of things though is it's.
Yeah, we
wouldn't know anything about that.
Certainly, yeah.
Whew.
Nothing like being anime nerds and all that fun stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
heck yeah.
That's what we are for sure.
So I gotta ask, what's your favorite anime?
Oh, that's a loaded question.
Well-
oh God.
Oh God. I feel like we're supposed to say something really cred here, like OG Gundam or something. But no, honestly, my tastes have skewed very modern. I like this is from My Hero Academia. I like that. We like that a lot. Tokyo Ghoul, of course, Naruto.
Yeah, we
Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
Well, Attack on Titan was bananas.
Oh man, I would say that one might have been my favorite.
Yeah.
Because
and there's some other like slice of life ones and some fun things here.
Fruits Basket. I love
yeah.
Fruits Basket.
The cute stuff. We like the cute stuff,
Yeah.
I'm still old school for most things. I still love my Bubblegum Crisis.
There you go.
Because I'm not gonna, that has one of the best soundtracks just ever, is the whole bubblegum crisis all the way to Tokyo 2040. But yeah, I'm a huge, I've been an anime nerd back when people was it what's anime? You know, the
And
Japanese
they called it Japanimation.
Japanimation.
You were
Yeah.
like, yeah, you were considered a dork or something for
Yeah,
liking
yeah.
it. Like, because
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember in the 90s, you know, you couldn't,
Yeah.
don't talk about that.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Now it's like,
No,
now
it's
it's
normal.
everywhere.
It's okay. Yeah.
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 My sons are all into it, so it's like,
Great.
yay. I can
Again, let people like stuff, you
That's
know?
cool. Yeah. Yeah.
so but I always ask this one. What's the band that got you into music?
Oh
I have a
God.
fun. Oh, I don't know if it's funny, but Guns N' Roses for sure.
100%. That's, I get that.
Yeah. Slash knocked me out of my seat, and I was just like, I got to do that.
Yeah, I have to say this is gonna be an oddball one, but possibly Doobie Brothers. My
it.
dad got me really into classic rock when I was really little. He played in a cover band. My dad's a musician too. He is a violinist, he's a guitarist, blah blah blah. And you know, that's actually why I started playing in the first place. I actually started on guitar when I was 6. Um, and yeah, I mean, Doobie Brothers probably, but also Boston was another one that I just was
Reaper siblings.
doing.
Reaper siblings.
Wonders if the Doobie Brothers would have been
Well,
more
that's
successful.
They published their work under their original name.
Yeah,
Reaper
but
siblings.
I would say those are like the 2 big ones. And then I think we both morphed into being obsessed with Rush.
Yes, Rush is huge.
Yes.
Huge for me.
Yeah. Rush. I've got to see Rush once in concert.
Same.
They were phenomenal, and
Same
it was on
here.
it was on a crappy tour though. It was on the Roll the Bones tour. And,
You bite your tongue. That was an
Yeah.
awesome tour.
well,
You put that
okay, wait a minute.
back in your
Awesome
mouth.
tour, not a good album.
You don't think so? Oh, wow.
I'm not a big fan of it,
I
but
gotcha. I love
it's
that record, yeah.
decent for, but it's not. Yeah.
I'm letting this slide because you seem like a nice guy. But I want you
No,
to put
it's-
that sentence back in your mouth, and we'll never speak of it again.
Okay. I got to say this. I have a 13-year-old son who has autism, and back there in the back, past the arcade cabinet and stuff like that in the corner, he's got his electronic drum kit.
No way.
That kid, I bought it for him for Christmas, and he can play about, I don't know, about 20 songs, and one of them is Tom Sawyer from Rush.
Nice.
Great.
And he'll be back there and he'll be like, Dad. I'm like, what are you doing, bud? And he goes, I'm playing Tom Sawyer from Rush. And he's like, and I'm like sitting there, I'm like, but he's got, he's got his earphones on because it's electronic. And because if not, I would never be able to sleep because we just hear bum, 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 bum. And now he wants a real drum kit. And I'm like, bud, that is a real drum kit. It's one that we can turn the volume down on so we can sleep.
Yeah.
I play on an electronic kit right now. I mean, I have a,
Not just a live one, but
yeah, no, I have a separate Roland
V-drum.
Yeah, V-drum kit
For the more traditional rock stuff.
Right, because I mean, I still love to get behind. I have like, I don't know how many Rush songs in my arsenal, but that's like my go-to. But like, I play a lot of stuff, on that because, and I have a fantastic acoustic kit. I have a Tama Star Classic Maple that my father got for me for Christmas in 2020, and it is so good.
But yeah, you gotta.
I don't like to drive him nuts, and I mean, I don't understand it. Like a mouse could fart on one end of this house and we'd hear it at the other. But if I try to say something to him in the next room, we're like, what? It's like selective in the sound it carries. But I play on an electronic kit because it is better. So, I mean, just, tell your kid that like, hey, even, all good drummers have.
Even Angelica did it. And you
Yeah, and he doesn't know me from anybody. So this is totally going to make an impact.
He loves it. Matter of fact, he goes and I used to play bass, so he always drags my bass out, and he's like, we're in a band, Dad." I'm like, "Daddy can't play bass anymore." So I wish I could, but it's nerve damage. I got no feeling in his hand. Oh, I got no feeling in these 2 fingers. Huh?
Oh boy, sorry to hear that.
I crushed my funny bone too many times. That nerve right there, that nerve cluster, it shuts down on this side, and like.
The ulnar nerve, right?
Yeah. It's so funny because I had issues and they always thought it was from a back injury, and then they traced it and they're like, "Oh, it's your nerve right there," and they put the needles in, And
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, and they're like, they turn up the thing because it's got electricity run through it, and they have to
Yeah. The
see
EEG.
where the signals are getting bottlenecked.
Yeah.
And so she puts it in here, and she puts it on the one side, and I'm sitting there, and she's, you feel that? I'm like, no. Turns it up. You feel that? No. Turns it up. And she's like, nothing. I'm like, I've maybe a slight tingle. And then she took it and moved it to the other side of my hand. She put it right here, put the needle right there. And she didn't turn it back down. And she
Oh,
turned it on, and my hand come flying up off the table. I almost hit her. I felt so bad because, I mean, literally, my hand went up and everything just swung up, and I missed her by like that much.
oh my
Oh my
gosh.
God.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. She goes, that is 100% my fault. I should have turned it back down because we were on the other side of the arm. That is my fault. That is
Would
not
have been
yours.
great if you just clocked her. I mean,
And I did, because it literally, you know, you got it sitting on a table, and they're putting the electrodes in, and all of a sudden it's like, you know, they're like, okay, you know, you're gonna feel a little tingle or whatever. And as soon as she hit that one, after it was been on the other side, and my hand, I just boom, and it just come up off the
What's
table.
up?
You know, missed her.
Well,
I'm like,
this
that was not
story,
me. That was not me.
the story has inspired me to wear elbow pads everywhere now.
Oh, it just
Well, I worked. It's from working in factories and stuff, and you'd hit, and I still
Yeah.
do it to this day. And my wife goes, "You're just going to kill that arm eventually." I'm like, "Yeah, probably." But now I go
We
to the
all limp and
gym. I
hanging
got
to
it
the
all
side.
wrapped up. So
too funny. That's a great story.
You're gonna be like when Ace Ventura got hit by the poison darts and his arms just flopping around.
yeah, yeah. I make fun of. Did you ever see the Planet Terror, the Quentin Tarantino Grindhouse? It's Grind.
No.
Uh, there's a girl. She gets her hands numb. She's like trying to get her car door open, and it's. I'm not gonna. It makes me hurt every time I watch it because she can't do it. But if you ever get a chance, watch Grindhouse. It's got Death Proof and Planet Terror. It's Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, and it's insane and
Awesome.
We'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um but I normally a question I ask is how does your family, you know, support you? But you're telling me you're like your dad's buying you drum kits, he's a musician
Oh yeah.
himself. I'm like, evidently your dad's like, yes, that's what you're doing.
Both my parents, my mom was extremely supportive. She was so proud. But and you know, same thing with my stepdad, who
Yeah. No,
I knew when I
he's
was
really
young.
supportive.
But yeah, my dad continues. He's just he loves it. He thinks it's so cool. He absolutely adores Randy. He's always like, you know, he's so brilliant. He's so brilliant. Every time I'm on the phone with him, he's going on. I'm like, yeah, he's like, got anything nice to say about your daughter now? But yeah, I mean, it's my whole family is very music oriented. It's cool. It was very.
My parents don't care.
They don't care.
No. I mean, growing up, you know, they bought me stuff, you know, to get going, but they haven't been to a show, any of my shows, since like '99 or something. So yeah. No, they don't care.
You don't care. See, I'm one of them guys. I love my mom and my dad to death, but they weren't the most supportive people on the planet. And I try to be the exact opposite. I support my kids 100%. I mean,
Great.
3 of my children are adults. My youngest son, you know, but I'm still the one that's like, my son for Christmas, he goes, I kind of want a guitar. And I'm like, what kind you want? And he's like, well, I want a Strat. I would like to get one. It's like the off-white. And I'm like, okay. So I literally get a hold of my buddy. I'm like, you still doing guitars? Because he would buy guitars, fix them up, make them, you know, look. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I got a white Strat. And I'm like, all right, hold on a second. He goes, I got 4 of them. He sends me pictures. I'm like, Joe, which one you want? He's like, that one. Okay, he's got pick guards. What color pick guard you want? He goes, well, I just want the flat white pick guard. Okay, we're getting flat white pick guard. We're getting the off-white guitar. He's stringing it for you too, so we don't have to worry about that. And he's
Nice.
like,
Awesome.
and I'm like, I go, I don't. Somebody goes, oh, you're just gonna spend that money on it. He probably not. I'm like, I don't care. If he plays it, he plays it. If he learns, it's cool. The same with the drum kit. I am super supportive of him because I know what it's like not to be supported, but
Right.
Yeah.
it's all about it's all about moving that next generation and getting them to learn what we've learned.
Yeah, right.
So
And supporting them through it, especially because I mean, like, I feel like the musicians that I don't want to say like have given musicians a bad name or anything like that, but you know, you get some of these stories of these musicians who are just like riddled with sadness because their parents were unsupportive, and it's just, you know, they end up turning to a lot of
Yep.
substance abuse issues and things like that. And it's like, I have never met a musician who was like 100% supported by their family who turned into, you know, who turned to drugs or turned into a dirtbag in any way. It's like, dude, those things are huge. Music is incredibly enriching for children. It's actually
Yes.
been proven so many times over. So
Yep.
like, yeah, they want a violin, you get them the violin. If you can swing it, you get them whatever you can, because even though it's going to be noisy at first, if you give them that enrichment, you give them that encouragement, they may get awesome at it and be like, hey, this made my life so much better than it could have been.
100%, 100%. So I have to. We got a couple questions I do have to ask before we get too far. What's your 5-year plan? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
So yeah, just like, you know, business goals kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Well, yeah. It's funny because you'd think I'd have this all mapped out. I mean, we do and we don't. Well, definitely, there's a lot of like, you know, streaming numbers, follower numbers, all that kind of stuff. But mainly the big thing is, you know, we're touring more consistently, you know, making sure that is a far more regular part of our plan going forward. A release ultimately every 6 to 8 weeks, and we would like to keep that up. But of course, you know, you kind of have to go away for a little bit. So, you know, to write some stuff. But if we can make you know, like an 8-song album every year, 6, 7, 8 songs every year, touring consistently. And also, I mean, I guess the you know, getting to a point where you don't have to just keep on hustling the content game, because, you know, that's another big thing. But I want to get to the point where it's like you make stuff that you don't have to do the least you can do because you have to serve an algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big thing. You know, I'm not saying that's the only way to go about it, but you had Health on, you said, and they were recently interviewed by a guy named Jesse Cannon, and he has some good insights music industry wise. And they were talking, you know, just about the business goals they've achieved, and that's a state I'd like to get in, that kind of super hardcore fan base. I mean, they even have like what do they call, like, dark music for horny people or something like
Sad
that.
music for horny
Sad
people.
music for horny people. Yes, I got that
Yeah.
shirt.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
they have the whole, yeah, they have like the mission statement going on. They're very self-contained unit. I know they have a team, but like, you know, they seem to be doing it right. So to end up in a commercial position like that, where it's a very hardcore, dedicated base,
And allowing the material to work for itself in a lot of ways, so it doesn't feel like you're constantly gaming the system.
well, yeah, and that's what I mean by when I said least you can do, because sometimes it's like, well, it's, you know, it's 2 o'clock, you have to make sure you have something,
Yeah,
you know, every
yeah.
day, because that's when, you know, the graph shows your audience is most active on the platforms, etc., stuff like that. Like, I don't want to have to keep hustling to keep up with that. I wanted to, like she said, kind of have the thing gain its own legs, you know, so we can just focus on making the big, larger, more intentional content, as opposed to the stuff that has to fill in the gaps, you know.
Right.
But for now, that's where you got to go. Yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of like when you look at some of the more, I don't want to say like legacy YouTubers, but some of the ones that have millions and millions of subscribers, they started out, they had to be constantly punching it, just to release after release after release after release, and just uploading constantly, sometimes even the most insipid shit.
Yeah.
But now they can get away with posting a video once a month and they'll still get insane amounts of views. That's the kind of
momentum we want to gain, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's difficult, again, being a self-contained unit and being exclusively just us.
Yeah.
You know, when you have to create micro content on a daily basis, sometimes twice a day, that can actually become a very grueling process.
But
And
anyway,
Oh, yeah.
consistency is the answer. The
Right.
main single word answer. What's the 5-year plan? Just the consistency of what we're doing right now. Yep, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's shameless self-promotion and consistency. That's where I'm at.
kind of always has been.
Yes.
You know? Just
Oh,
as a
yeah.
different
Not more
climate.
than ever, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, another one I always love to ask. Matter of fact, I might edit these scenes, but we always talk about tour horror stories or tour stories.
We have some.
Horror stories.
Horror stories, yeah. What's your biggest tour horror story?
Well, we have a big one. This was 2010, Morrow, Georgia. We had just done, I think we were about 2 weeks in, and our whole trailer got stolen. They sawed the locks off while we were asleep. We stayed at a hotel. And none of the stuff ever got recovered. So it was about everything, merch, the whole thing. They broke into the van, they stole food, even the iPod at the time. It was like about a $30,000 loss that we just had to buy everything back. Yeah.
And it happened on my birthday.
It happened on a birthday.
It happened on my birthday. So that's how I woke up to being 27 was, oh shit. Oh my God, is this the end? I can't believe it. Like, it was very easy to spiral into some very.
We had to go to the glass place and get a new window on the van, drive home with they stole the radio. So it was a 17-hour ride back to Connecticut. We were originally from Connecticut. So no music, not even like FM radio, just nothing. And it was just the time, all you could do was think crappy thoughts of demise, dismay, and disappointment and despair.
But then we were back on the road. Not on the road, but we were playing again by November.
That was August. So by November, we worked out. We worked 2 jobs. I worked extra hours. The whole thing. We bought everything back, and but yeah. So that's our.
We started that tour. The first gig, I had violent food poisoning.
That's right. Yeah, she was vomiting.
I had eaten a can of peaches that I got at Target, which should have been my first red flag.
Chinese Target peaches.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I exorcist vomited like several times over.
It was bad.
It was really bad. And then we played a show that night, and I'm tucking away on the side of the stage, like popping Rolaids.
There was tons.
Tums. I just eating them, and I'm like, we were still very metal at the time, and I'm like, if I were Alpha on stage, it's gonna be metal as fuck. But like,
that's true. Yeah.
I'm like, this is my mic. I don't want to have to smell it later.
Well, when we played with the Bunny the Bear, they did that.
Oh my God, they almost barfed.
He vomited on stage. Yeah.
Well, he also vomited off stage, nearly on somebody else's.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah,
So anyway, yeah, there we are.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a tour story. That is.
Yeah. Did we win? Did we win?
No.
Okay.
We still got one ahead of you because what was the singer tried to stab the bass player during a show?
Holy Moses! Yeah. Oh my God!
Can you tell that?
I gotta hear this.
It's one of our early episodes. Literally, these guys were on stage, and I if I remember right, there was a girl involved, but like the two had been feuding, and then like mid-show, the guy just pulls out his knife and like goes to stab on stage during a show. Needless to say, those 2 guys immediately got booted out of the band, and the other 2 guys took off and reformed the band.
That's fantastic.
I'm like, I wanted to stab my bandmates, but I've never actually done it.
Well, I'll tell you what. Well, we did get stabbed in the back because in 2012, the 2 guys that were with us, they left us in the middle of a tour. They took a flight home.
And they didn't tell us they were leaving. We had all had this big fight.
And we drove back from Texas to Connecticut with all their gear too.
And we gave it back.
We gave it back, but I
was also sick on the way home.
And we had to cancel like another. We only had like another week left, and we just did South by Southwest that year, and right in the middle of the cake. And that was actually when we had the most kind of attention and people and stuff. We were
still tragic at the time.
We
had this great manager, Vange. It was a big mess.
So
okay, you guys they may have won because of the one incident, but you guys are won because of
we're breathing down their necks here.
but I hate to say this, but that's one of the problems with getting older. You have more crap that is behind you now.
Look, our rocking chair stories are going to be so chaotic. Like, we're going to be on the front porch with like a Valium drip, just being like, remember that time you barfed like 14 times before a show?
Oh man. So
yeah, it's gonna be wild.
Crazy.
But that's part of the fun of it. Well, not getting stabbed. I think I draw the line at violence on stage, but like
it's the life though.
You have to share those crazy stories.
We
You
we
know, if
we had another band that they one of the guys got like horribly sick, got the flu during the show, and he like was playing and like would stop and run in the back because he had a bucket and he would crap in the bucket and then go back out on stage and finish playing.
oh my God,
Was
And
he
I'm
what
still,
did
like,
he do with the bucket?
was he still playing while he was taking a dump?
I'm guessing that if he did, but we didn't ask that part of the question. But that would be amazing if he's still like.
Oh man, I don't know what's more metal, barfing or diarrhea. I mean,
I think shitting in a bucket is probably more metal, but that's like crust punk, like
there's.
levels.
I gotta tell you, there was.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
we watched this one show called Hoarders for like way back in the day. I don't watch it anymore because too damn depressing. But there was one episode where a guy was talking about the person who was they were trying to clean up the house, and they were making some bad decisions. Anyway, they were shitting in a bucket.
Yep.
And so the guy just says, you know what, man? Like, we're all one bad decision away from shitting in a bucket. So it's like the first thing, like the first trinket you hold on to, the first this or that, and you become the horror thing or whatever. Like, in other words, what one decision leads to, how it leads to another. Anyway, I love that phrase though.
Yeah.
We're all one bad decision away from shitting in a bucket.
And now that guy in that band is exactly 0 decisions away from it because he's done it.
He's
Yeah,
shitting the
there you
bucket.
go.
Admirable, man.
My wife goes, "You're a hoarder." I'm like, "I'm not a hoarder because if I want to sell it, I'll sell it."
There you go. Yeah.
You're a collector. There's
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a
difference.
collector. As you can see, all this crap is.
Oh, you got the X-Men? Very cool.
Yeah, I got an
Okay,
X-Men. It's an arcade 1-up cabinet. It's not an original, but that's
Okay.
that corner of the room is what I call my arcade because there's a Star Wars, Turtles, Mortal Kombat, 2 of the Marvel fighting games, and then like over here I have one of the cocktail cabinets. It's Street Fighter.
yes.
And, yeah,
Nice.
That's
Is
awesome.
that X-Men the one with like the mirror in it, right? Wasn't there a
this is the 4-player one. It
Okay.
was like a 6-player in the arcades because it was huge in the arcade and it had the 2 TVs kind of like.
Oh, it was 2. Okay, I thought there was like a mirror or something involved.
There was one, if I remember right, that had
Okay,
a
yeah.
weird mirror to because you looked, it was like it was down here and then it
Right.
would project up on the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could play it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm a big vintage game kind of nerd too.
Literally, I own a comic book and video game store. That's what I sell is comic books
Sweet.
and vintage video games.
You
Awesome.
got any Sega Master System games in there?
I don't have any in the store, and I know in my personal collection I got like 5, but I don't even have a Sega
Wow.
Master System anymore. I got like Rambo, Columns,
Columns.
Track and
There you go.
Field, some of the other ones, but yeah, I have some of those. And
Great.
then I'm a huge Star Wars nerd because I got like helmets everywhere. Because that one I just got a couple days ago,
That's cool. That's very cool. Awesome, man. Awesome.
and these are actual lightsabers.
Oh,
Oh,
let's see. Oh, holy cow.
This is the actual saber part. This is one of the Disney ones from the thing. A guy brought them in to trade yesterday, and I'm like, oh, those are going home with me.
Cool. Dude,
But-
awesome.
Yep. But I also have to say I went to your merch store and you got some great looking shirts. I'm not gonna lie, you got some
Well,
really
a
good
lot of
art.
those are from the metal days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean they're still cool. I don't care if it's old shirt or whatever. I mean I've still got t-shirts from high school, so I can't.
Thank you. Great. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
But but I am so happy you guys are out there kicking ass. You're putting out good music.
You.
And I don't want to say we're all older, but you're doing something at a more mature level. Let's put it that way.
At my advanced age, I'm just pleased to be vertical.
Yeah.
There you go. Every day above ground's a good day. But I want to thank you so much. I don't want to keep too much more of your time, but I do have to ask any upcoming events that you're playing.
No upcoming events, but expect a lot of singles, and there will be a full length this year.
Okay. And where can people find you online at?
Instagram at BTATS Band, BTATS Band, or just brighterthan1000suns.com.
Okay. And what what's your advice for inspiring musicians?
Oh boy.
Drip by drip.
Yeah.
There's no big splashes anymore, really. The Olivia Rodrigos and the Billie Eilish and stuff like that. The people like the headline news doesn't really happen. So make sure you are consistent. It's a drip by, like making coffee. Everything you do, every step, just be grateful for that. You know, step by step by step, and you'll fill the lake. You know,
And you'll be able, if you keep that mentality, you'll be able to actually recognize growth as it's happening,
that's it.
rather than feeling like disappointed that it's not just one big splash. And this goes for everything from, you know, learning your instrument and realizing you're not going to be amazing. You're not going to be playing spirit or radio,
Yeah.
you know, within 2 weeks. Like, no, it's all just installments every day. You know, what's the thing, you know, man works hard every day of his life, and here's another one of those days.
Like
It's
that-
not going to make the headline.
It's never going to be a headline. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something we always say, you know, but it's not sexy work. So just
Right.
get through the dip. You know, there's like a dip where it's like it's really, really, really hard, and you know, eventually you'll come back out of it. But like, you know, stay with it if
Yeah.
you want it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys so much. You guys are awesome. And maybe down the road we can get you back on when you're getting ready to drop your album or something new comes up. Just let us know. We'll get you back on.
Absolutely.
And can we use some of your music for the outro music?
Please.
Yes,
That'd be great.
definitely.
Well, we always ask to make sure, and we always record it so that if somebody goes, I didn't tell them they could do that. I'm like, no, here it is.
Like,
It's
yes, you
video. What are you
did.
talking about? So, like, again, I appreciate you guys. You guys are keeping a really cool genre of music alive that people, you know, I think people need to go back and experience. And now it's new. It's not like you're just going back and listening to the same song over and over again that you grew up on. Now there's new music that has that same feel, and you guys are right up there in the forefront pushing that out there, and that is awesome, and I appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
that.
much.
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we leave?
Oh, just come find us on our socials, and you know.
We're chatty, so we like to
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah,
Cool.
we
Reach
do.
out anytime.
All right, yeah, you guys are. I could literally do like a 2-hour show with you guys, and it wouldn't even.
Oh heck yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
We'll have to reschedule. And we'll just do a longer show, and then we'll just when I don't have nothing booked at the end of the day or anything like that.
Totally, that'd be great.
We can have a themed one where we discuss why you know, we can discuss our opinions on Roll the Bones and why you're wrong.
Oh,
I am wrong. If you ask my wife, I'm wrong a lot. And I would be the first one to admit if somebody says I'm probably wrong, then I'm probably wrong. But there are a few hills I will die on, and
That's one of them. Nice.
yeah, no, actually that's
man.
not one of them. That's just one that I when that record came out, I was I don't know if I was expecting more or what, but it just didn't hit me the way I thought it should have when it came out.
Some of the
And
later records, we kind of feel that.
yeah, and it's no
Yeah.
different than there's other bands I absolutely love, and maybe like the first couple times I hear the music, I'm like, no, no, and then next thing you know, I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, it's fine, yeah, I just need a
It
little
grows
time
on
for
you
it to
like a
kick in.
fungus.
So,
You know?
but like I said, you guys are awesome. I might still be able to get this show up at 8 o'clock, but it'll drop next week. I'm taking a couple weeks off. I needed a break. I had a comic book convention that I just did. It was my anniversary, so I took a couple weeks off and did all that fun stuff so I could get back to this. And then next week we'll have more new episodes. So, and you'll be the first new episode. So,
Yay!
yep.
Yeah, let us know when it's up, and
Yeah.
we'll make sure to, you know.
All right,
like,
probably next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Great.
excellent. Okay, great. We'll keep an eye out, and
Thank you.
we'll make
Cool.
sure to post
And
about it.
if you ever want to reach out, like I said, we'll do another show and we'll talk about dumb stuff all day long. So,
Sounds great to me. Love it.
so
Perfect.
you guys take care.
We built a chasm out of hope in case promise we would fall forever. Temptation begs me to let go, 'cause we'll be falling together. Space between identities will call